so very excited to have you here today, Shane. Well, I told you this earlier before we started. One of the most iconic voices in comedy. I've seen the stories.
Thank you.
I've seen the stories that you tell of you tripping, the animated ones. Like you have such a rich comedic style. So yeah, I'm very excited to have you here. And you've got a new podcast coming out. If they go to shanemauss.com and they check that out, they're going to be able to see that. So excited to have you here in Dallas.
I'm excited to be here. I've really valued trying to do more thoughtful, cerebral, interesting things with my comedy career, and it's nice to see a couple comics trying to get into some bigger ideas. I try to do that with science topics and such, and find novel ways to get people interested in science, and it's cool to have people thinking about legal frameworks in fun and entertaining ways. So
Thank you
for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me here.
we really enjoy helping people, but also I think that it comes from a place of hate too. I hate the way that lawyers are perceived, and I hate the way that a lot of lawyers act. Because of the way they act, a lot of people don't get any legal help because there's no money in it. They're like, oh, I can't make $1,000 or whatever off of this person. I don't want to take the call. I don't want to do the meeting. And so like the reason why we created the show is because we think that literally everyone should be able to at least talk to someone about what they're going through.
Can I tell you what a difference that I see between scientists? I interview a lot of scientists, and
Sure.
I absolutely adore scientists, and there's all sorts of I never went to college myself or anything, but there's a lot of stigma. There's a lot of like anti-science stuff. There's a lot of ideas of people being overly unnecessarily intimidated by science or not seeing the value of it in their lives. And, it comes along with a lot of baggage the way that lawyers do as well. Maybe you can correct a kind of assumption that I make. So one of the things that I love about scientists is what they're aiming to do, not necessarily that they do it perfectly, of course. We're all humans. Is that they try to get down to the objective truth of something. They attempt to they look for falsifiable evidence. They look for ways of like, okay, if I'm wrong, here's what that should look like. You're actually trying to prove your theories wrong. You're actually trying to prove each other wrong as a way to get down to the bottom of honing in on the objective truth.
Yeah, lawyers are the opposite.
It's trying to take whatever perspective and think of whatever verbally fluent way to make the best argument for something, whether it's objectively correct or not.
I think a scientist, and Bill can try to argue with me if he wants, but I'm better at arguing than he is. A scientist is like, is this thing true? Let's find the truth.
Yeah.
And a lawyer usually goes, what can I make look true?
Yeah.
Right.
And those are very, very, very different positions.
And I'm not going to disagree with you. I will say that in the scientist mindset, it's really the judge and the jury. So whoever's deciding the legal issue that needs to have that mindset. And the law's geared towards that. The reason why lawyers often get confused on that side is because they need to do that with their own client, right?
Right.
Hey, dude, your case fucking sucks. So let's work it out ahead of time. Let's take that plea deal, or let's settle this case.
Yeah.
Or, dude, your case is really strong. Don't give up now. Let's keep going, right? But the system says, lawyer, you remember, is be a zealous advocate. Right? A zealous advocate is absolutely the opposite of a scientist.
Yeah.
Science is, I'm going to figure it out if it's right or wrong.
Scientist and a judge. Scientist
Science
and a
and a
judge
judge.
have
Right.
some similarities.
I agree.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
but a judge is still governed by subjective human laws. So if a scientist reveals that assumptions are found that we've made are found to be untrue, you then have this kind of Bayesian processing and update you're kind of working with the best information that you have. So in an ideal world, a good scientist should be updating that information, whereas a judge is trying to enforce the interpretation of the laws as they are. And so it's a lot of like, it's a lot of like a scientist would never go like, is murder good or bad? Like that, those things don't mean anything.
Right.
It's like, did a murder happen? Did a bullet go through this person? And
Was
then
it murder?
Uh,
Was it murder? Was it self-defense or was it murder? Like
Right.
these are
But those are things that lawyers and judges determine, is like intent and things like that. But a scientist, that's not a thing that a scientist would evaluate.
Yeah.
So, and it's actually something that you have to stop yourself from thinking about to be a good scientist. You go like, oh, it seems like because something evolved a certain way, it must be good.
Yeah.
Because like aggression, because aggression was a part of our history, aggression must be good or something. But that's not.
And I think we see that sometimes, right? Like with scientists, what you'll see happen is they falsify results because they have this tagline of this idea of what they want, and they're like, oh, if I can get this published, I'm going to, it's going to skyrocket my career. Oh, the findings don't really match it. Maybe I can maybe I can change the size of the control group. Maybe I can, fudge some numbers, and that happens.
But
it happens.
science is objective truth, even if a scientist is flawed and
Science
corrupt and whatever else.
should be objective truth.
No, hold on. I wanna argue with you on the other
Science
side.
is the pursuit of objective truth.
No.
I understand that scientists may not be
Yes,
pursuing
yes,
that.
yes.
Scientists,
Yes,
the humans.
yes.
I'm talking about what science is meant to be doing.
I'll agree with that definition,
whereas
yes, yeah.
whereas the law is about subjective, enforcing subjective truth. So we have agreed upon policies where we have feelings about, jaywalking, or say, there's all sorts of great subjective truths, like, hey, let's all drive on, we should all drive on the right side of the road, but that's not an objective reality.
Right.
That's just a very valuable subjective
It's a mix.
reality.
It's a mix
So-
because, like, whether you were speeding or not can be determined objectively. That's not a
Yeah,
subjective
but
truth.
whether it's a violation or not depends on the jurisdiction you're in. So, like, for example,
Right.
like if we're talking
the
about
speed you are objectively going
Right.
is objective, but is that good or bad is a subjective.
So,
Is
so,
it a
so like the
violation?
topic we were
Yeah.
talking about, this a couple days ago, which is, and I think it's right up the wheelhouse, and hopefully same for you as well, is when you think about, what types of medicinal substances are allowed over time and not, right? And obviously, let's talk about mushrooms as an example, psilocybin. In certain jurisdictions, it's considered morally bad. It is also legally bad under the subjective system. But we would all, then other folks are saying, like, it's neither good nor bad. It's just you've decided it's bad, but it's not actually bad in practice.
We're going to continue talking about psilocybin in the next part, but we have another caller to get to. Great topic and conversation, lawyers versus scientists. I like it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're going to be here for you when you need that cheap date.